Good evening. How's everybody?
Hi.
Dr. Lamb.
Hey, 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 hey. It's summertime and it's ready to start classes again. I've been so excited today. I couldn't sleep last night getting ready for class today. No, 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 no. We hadn't got another new doctor today. I had one do final defense this morning, so it's been a good day. See another one cross the finish line. Yeah. Good, 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 good day. So yeah, and looking forward to this, excited about this tonight. All right, we'll give everybody, that's 7 o'clock. We'll give everybody one, two, three, four, 6, 8. We got what, 15 in this group? So we're still missing 7. All right, clear. We'll give them another, we'll give them another minute. Oh, here we go. Uh, so now we've got 4. Now we've got 13. All right. Looks good, looks good, looks good. All right. I'm going to go ahead and get started. This is EDLS 734 personnel. This is a 9-hour course, I believe. And so I'm going to go through all the requirements for the course tonight and try not to keep you on too late. So after tonight, here's how the course works. When we come online on our weekly schedules, you will present. You will present the chapters from the 2 books. I bought the 2 books in PDF form. You don't have to buy them. Do not buy books. And if they mistakenly put you in the Bulldog bundle, opt out. I have bought both books. They're in there in PDF where all you have to do is read them and do your presentation out of them. So every week that we meet in class on Wednesday nights, you will present. Let me share my screen and pull that up. And so you can see the schedule that I have. And this is obviously in our shell. It's one of the first things. So you can see tonight we're doing introductions, task stream evidence, all those things. And you notice that next week when we meet, we will have Glickman presentations for chapters 1 through 3, 4 through 5, 6 through 9, 10 through 12. And you say, well, who's going to do that? Well, right here at the bottom, right there they are. So in class 2, Karen, Lakeisha, Fatima, and Melissa will present the chapters that I just called out. And you can see where you are on the schedule now. You may trade your time slot with somebody else if you would like to do that. I don't care who presents. I don't know. There's been usually around my classes, there's a pretty active trading session. I don't know what the cost to get somebody to take your place and where you can have a different time if you've got something going on. But if you can do that, it does not hurt my feelings. So here's how the lineup goes to start with. If you can get somebody to switch with you, now I'm not brokering the switches. If you can get somebody to switch with you, if you need to switch, that'll be fine. But there it is. You may trade your time slot with another classmate, not through me. All right. And so you can see what we do every week. Now, here's how the weekend goes. Saturday's my day, Sunday's your day. So I will present content on Saturdays, and on Sundays, y'all will do presentations. Now, if you can't monitor yourself, we'll be there till dark. I like to go home at 1 o'clock on Sunday. That's up to y'all. We got 4 hours on Sunday. Now, I take 30 minutes of that, 15 to 30. I'm an old back row Baptist, so I'm going to have to preach on Sunday morning. But after I get done with that, it's your time until we go. And so don't be looking at me when it's 1 o'clock and somebody's still up droning on. Look at them. Again, you're gonna have to learn to monitor yourself. But I want to go home at 1 o'clock on Sunday. But if we don't go, that's all right with me. I'm old. I don't have anything else to do. So Saturday's my day. You'll be out by 4. Sunday's your day. And if you can manage your time, then you'll be out by 1. All right. So that's how it will work. So let's look at the shell. I've got it pulled up here. All right. If you want to meet with me about your dissertation topic, now I am not your coach. I don't do coaching. I only do dissertation work. I chair and do methodology. If you want to talk to me about that, then you click on that button. You can sign up for a time on Monday or Friday or Tuesday or Thursday night, and I will talk to you about that. Now, I'm going to do that talk with y'all at our first weekend anyway about making sure that you pick an appropriate topic that's leadership based, something your district will let you do that won't light them on fire. I worked with one on Monday, and we just adjusted hers a little bit so it would be where it would be a positive thing to do that rather than a negative thing. That will do that. Now, I do methodology. I do all parts of dissertations. I have a full load. I You can add me if you want to do content. I do, but I normally chair and do methodology. But you can sign up to talk with me. Now, this is not a group chat. This is me and you. You send me what you're working on. Now, if you don't want if you don't want your feelings hurt, you probably don't want to spend time with me too much. I don't have time. Um, Dissertation, the only good one is one that's done. My job is to get you through. I go fast, I go hard, we work, we get after it. And if you want to get started if you want to get started doing some preliminary work along with your coaching session, I'm your man. I'll be glad to help you. Make sure I noticed four of you haven't role verified yet. Make sure you do your role verification. This is the weekly schedule. We just looked at it. Most of you have done introduce yourself except for two, I believe. The weekly chapter presentation schedule, again, that's on the back, that's on the end of the weekly schedule. So again, I'll go over that again. Right here it is. So you can see what's due every time that we get together, the chapters, and all you got to do is look at the key down here at the bottom and you know who presents where and when. And again, in green, you may trade with somebody else. All right, back to that. Right here, you put your presentations. The textbooks are right here. If it'll open, there we go. Right there they are. You don't have to buy them. They're too expensive. Y'all are paying enough. All right. And so when you do your presentations, here they are. Now, it says clearly it can be a Word document or a PowerPoint. I'm more interested in what you can tell us. You need to learn to start being able to present information with not read it, and everything in the world doesn't need to be in a PowerPoint. Um, and you need to start learning how to do professional PowerPoints. Y'all do too much. And if somebody sends me one in Canva, I'm gonna fail you on the spot. Do not. I don't know why people think that's good. Look at me. I'm over 65 years of age. I'll soon be 70. I'm colorblind. If you put a watermark on something, I can't read it. If I can't read it, it's a zero. You need to discontinue all that stuff. We're not teachers anymore, folks. We're not presenting presentations for teachers. We're presenting This is a superintendent training program where you're either going to be a central office staff presenting to the superintendent and the board, or you're the superintendent presenting to the board. You need to learn to get out of all the little cutesy word art stuff. Just like for your proposal defense and your final defense. I saw one the other day, and three-quarters of the screen was taken up with the picture, and the text was about that big. I couldn't even read it with my glasses on. You need to learn to get out of that habit. Leaders make PowerPoints only to transfer information, big ideas. We don't get down in the weeds. We'll send you an email with that stuff. You need to learn to get in the habit of how to make a professional presentation. So if you want to just do a Word document outline of your presentation and talk extemporaneously, I love that. That's what leaders have to do. If you want to make a PowerPoint and it's just blank and clean, that's fine too. But if I get one and it's got all kind of colors, and if it moves or explodes like those Prizzies does, or one of them where the words kind of roll out, when a slide comes up, I better see everything that's ever going to be on that slide. It better be on it when it pops up. Don't be doing the big reveal. This is not a gender reveal party either. I want no surprises. I want the information. I want us to look professional. I want it to look like we've been there, done that. We're not training teachers here. All right. So again, your assignment Dropbox for your assignment. Here are the two different ones. And it says it can be a Word document, it can be a PowerPoint, but it better not be a Canva or a Prezi or any of that stuff. It just needs to be plain with the information on it. Here are the university resources. Here's the syllabus, the grading rubrics. Just turn all your assignments in, you'll be fine. My grading scale is it's 100 or 0. I don't do partial credit or any of that. Either it's good enough or it's not. It's either 100 or 0, just like life. You don't get partial credit in life. It's either good enough or it didn't. It's 100 or it's a 0. Turn all your assignments in, everything will be fine. Here's your clinical log. Please remember you're back on the log. You're back on the log again this semester. Let me pull it up right quick. There it is. For EDLS 734, you have to have 30 clinical hours self-reported in these areas right here. Make sure that you do your log, keep up with your hours. All right, the graduate student handbook, Connecticut. Oh, there's Sarah Newell's picture. You know, Sarah was just appointed superintendent in Kannapolis. She's one of ours. Um, one of mine most specifically, but that's another story for another day. But anyway, Sarah just got the job this week. All right, so this semester, the evidence that you will owe me this semester is the employee development plan. The template and guidance are here. The rubrics and step for success is here. Part A for review is here. You do all parts, then you put it together, and then when I tell you, and then you put it in, turn it in, and then then we go to task string. Okay, and if you need more guidance, again, I've got a template for you right here. Let's see what we got here. It just has the rubric on it, and it has all this stuff, and it's got, yeah, I've got some good stuff down here. Part A, I've got you an assessment template, follow, use your own or use mine. There's the graphic organizer, the standard one for us in the LS program. We use it in both MELS and EDLS. This is good guidance right here. Again, this is not War and Peace. Don't spend an inordinate amount of time on that, on this, but short and sweet, but good stuff is what we're looking for there. And then, of course, the rubrics and step for success is here. Same thing. It'll look pretty much the same. Yeah, there it is right there. That's just some extra tips for you on how to do that. If you need my help, schedule one of those individual sessions on Wednesday or excuse me, yeah, Tuesday night, Thursday night, or Monday or Friday. I'm again, that's it's not just dissertation. If you need extra help, I'm available every week. All right, get through that. But that's your evidence this semester. All right. The EDLS handbook, I've just gone through it this summer and cleaned it up a little bit. And this is some different materials that you would need to do. I've got some dissertation materials for you here. It's just the standard stuff. Zoom class 1, that's what we're doing tonight. Zoom class 2, we'll have our presentations. Weekend 1 is adult learning theory, andragogy, Malcolm Knowles. We might even do a little bit of Hertzberg on that day. Yep, there's Hertzberg. Um, and I will do I'll talk about dissertations. The Sunday presentations are right here. You need to click on these. You need to do the district recruitment activity in Dropbox is right here, and it tells you what is your district doing to recruit staff. Submit. This is a one-page information sheet listing all the efforts your district has made in this area. Be prepared to present weekend 1 Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. All right. That's that one. Here's the mentoring activity. You read that article. And again, I want 1 page or less. Be ready to present on Sunday. Interviewing activity in Dropbox. Answer the following questions. What are the four top qualities you look for in hiring a teacher assistant? Be specific and explain yourself. Again, one page or less. Now, if you want to do those as PowerPoints, try to limit yourself to like 6 slides on those or one page, whichever you want to do. Now, those are quick and dirty. It's pretty easy to do. If everybody takes, we got 15. So if everybody takes 15 minutes, that's four. That'll be put us out right at 1 o'clock. You got 5 minutes for each one of those three. That's about 6 slides worth, about one page worth. You got to learn to edit yourself. We could all do better if we had more time. You got to learn to edit yourself. You got 15 minutes on Sunday. You got 3 presentations. All right. All right. And have y'all done Qualtrics yet? Y'all know how to use Qualtrics?
No.
I'll either do that if I can get to it on the first weekend. I'll do it with you. I'll teach you how to use Qualtrics. It's free. It's in your tiles. I'll do that with you. My notes are here on how to do it. I've got Dale's notes on Qualtrics on how to do them for your dissertation. They're right here. 90% of you will use Qualtrics at dissertation time because that's how you'll collect your survey data. No, we don't use SurveyMonkey or Google. We use Qualtrics. And you need to learn. Now, I'll probably build the survey for you, but you need to learn how. All right, weekend two, human resources director interview. Let's see. Uh, Qualtrics. So it's talking about, I'll probably do that on the second Saturday. I'll go through all this stuff and we'll do Qualtrics and probably dissertation on the second Saturday. Probably won't get to dissertation. I'll do a mini dissertation on the first Saturday. Second Saturday, I'll do a fuller and I'll do Qualtrics and I'll also do thematic analysis using in vivo, which most of you will also use. Sunday presentations on weekend two, assignment Dropbox for my district right here. Again, prepare a 20-minute, 15 to 20-minute PowerPoint. 15 since we got 15 in class, you're going to have to cut that 20 back to 15. I wasn't expecting but 12 of you, but that's fine. The more the merrier. Um, Human resources plan template. Right here's that assignment for the template for that one. Director interview and then summary. So you really only have two, but again, you only have 15 minutes, so you got 7.5 for each of these on your second Saturday. The second Sunday, excuse me. And then weekend three, Saturday, I've got a lot of different things here. We'll also do methodology data, and I'll probably run through IRB with you on that one. Um, y'all look pretty young to me. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. By show of hands, I'll stop my share. By show of hands, how many of you are 50 yet and have had your first colonoscopy? Well, then you'll be ready for IRB. So that's it's exactly the same thing, except they don't give you any anesthesia when you go through IRB. So we're going to work on that. We're going to work on trying to get through. We've had a lot better success in the last fall, spring. We've had much better success with it because we've become much more intentional in teaching IRB. Have y'all all done CITI yet? The CITI IRB training. IRB is the Institutional Review Board. You know you got to get their approval. After you get your proposal for your dissertation, you have to go to them and get approval for your study. And then a lot of times you have to go to your own school district and get approval for their Institutional Review Board. And so there is a training that you have to have prior to that. Gardner Webb requires it. It's free. It's called CITI IRB training. If you've not had it, I was hoping y'all would have had it last semester. it'd be good to have it before you go to 736 in the fall because they're going to require you to do it. So we'll do that. Remind me on that first Saturday that we're together, and I'll go over IRB with you, and we'll make sure we get on the right websites and let you get it started before you leave class because there's 17 modules you got to go through on that. um, 16, 17 modules. And it's all about protecting participants, ethics, and all those kinds of things. And so I tell people all the time that woman over at IRB at Gardner Webb, she's small, but she'll punch you in the throat. It gives her a good angle to punch up and hit you right in the throat. Um, so whichever, insert overused metaphor here, colonoscopy, throat punch, kidney, a rabbit punch to the kidneys, whatever you want. All of that, probably all three of those before you get through IRB. I have one of mine. It took him 10 months to get through IRB. Let me say that again. It took him 10 months. I don't ever want that to happen again. And then I had to put on a suit and go over and in person and argue with the IRB committee. You know, um, that and that trust me, that conversation was, you know, um, we set a set of earphones next to the door in case somebody came by, and so they wouldn't hear us and get subjected to secondhand stupid. Me arguing with IRB, it was just awful. It was just awful. And so don't make me have to go over and do that again. Um, So we're going to get you through CITI, but you're going to learn that, and you'll learn as you're building your dissertation how that's really going to matter at IRB time. All right, back to my screen share. So we'll make sure we cover that and Qualtrics and all the stuff that really matters. Your weekend 3 Sunday presentation, you're going to do your employee development plan. That's all you're going to do on that one. So you get the full time on that one. That one doesn't probably need to be a PowerPoint. Limit yourself to 20 slides. Um, and 15 minutes. Now, I don't have any group work for y'all this semester, and I love group work, but I didn't put any in and I hate to say that, but because of the size of the class, group work just takes longer. And why I like it is when when you're up presenting and you're just taking a terrible whipping from me, it doesn't hurt as bad if there's 3 or 4 of you taking the whipping as it was with one. So it kind of distributes the pain a little more evenly. But this semester we've got a short summer. We've got a 9-hour course, and so we're not going to do any group activities. Y'all get to do some more again. I really like it, but it just doesn't fit well with the summer schedule. Those presentations tend to be a lot longer and more in depth, and we just don't have the time in the summer to do that. I would love to. Um, but so that's how the weekly schedule will work. Let me go back one more time and make sure I haven't missed anything. I've got some more materials here. Sample dissertation template, style guide, in-text citation. Here's all the things that we're going to do every week. Zoom class 4, and all these pictures. I got to add some of my latest pictures. I got a good one today. I'm gonna add some of them. I got to do that. I don't have Jennifer's picture here. I've got a lot of the different ones. All the pictures that I have on the headings and the sections in our course tell a story about dissertation. I mean, I've got Jennifer. I always lead off with Jennifer. She's like my oldest daughter. I picked her up late, but we got her through, but just she's done so well. She had a small sample size, but she did survey and interview, and that's not normally a good thing to do if you have a small sample size. But the reason why I let her do it is everybody loves Jennifer. Everybody. She's like everybody's little. I said she's like having my youngest daughter. Everybody loves her, and people will participate. And so, although she only had 13 in her sample, guess how many surveys she got back? 13, and got 12 interviews. and would have got 13th if we'd have needed it. Now, conversely, we'll just call her KR. I had one who thought people liked her at her work space. After the first 2 weeks of survey collection, guess how many she had? That would be none. I don't think getting those surveys hurt her as bad as is that she was not self-aware of how much she was not liked in her workplace. So this is where you need to do a little self-reflection. Now, we don't normally do Johari's window to 7:38, and that's 2 more courses away for y'all. But you need to do some self-reflection. You need to be thinking about that at this point. How am I going to collect data? When you say I'd like to do this topic, the first thing you need to ask yourself is how am I going to collect the data to answer the research questions about that? And if it's survey interview and people don't like you, it's not going to work. Now, we can somehow get around that by doing snowball, but I don't like snowball. Snowball is hope. What snowball is you go to Facebook or professional groups and you don't go through a school system and you try to go directly to people through social media and collect data from them that way. But again, that's a lot of hope. That's not a plan. We do that, but you need to have an idea of what kind of data I'm going to get. Now, normally right behind Jennifer's, and I'll have all these when we get together. I'll have these. I have Frank's picture. Let me look at my time here. I'll tell one more story. And the reason why I have Frank's picture is Frank, hands down, the dumbest student we've ever had at Gardner Webb. Nobody even close. Love Frank, though. But the story of Frank is Frank never questioned anything. Whatever you told Frank to do, that's what Frank did. My outside linebacker coach in college used to tell me all the time, don't think, you're hurting the team. Stick to what you're good at. We need for you to use your head to put it in the tight end's ribs when he runs across the middle. Don't be using your head to think. That was the beauty of Frank is Frank didn't argue with you. Frank, whatever you told Frank he needed to do, that's what Frank did. And which leads to my last story, which is the companion story to that. Our athletic director just resigned at Gardner Webb, VP and athletic director. His name was Andrew Goodrich. And I spent a lot of time with Andrew. I'm on the athletic committee at Gardner Webb. Spent a lot of time with him. Very nice young man. He's young to me. He's soon be 50. But he tells the story of when he got his doctorate at South Florida that he made no progress. He'd been out of his coursework 2 years and didn't even have anything, one chapter together, much less 3 to make a proposal. And finally his chair called him in and said, Andrew, your problem is you think this is your dissertation. It's not. It's our dissertation. You need to start listening to us. He said when he started listening, he got through in 8 months. A couple of lessons, and I'll do more of them, but I try to stay on our time here. I see that I've got 1 minute left. But while I love personnel, I teach law, finance, and personnel. Those are my passions. But I do dissertation work all day, every day. This is my 30. I got to do math here. I'm going to pull off my shoes. My 33rd year doing dissertation work, by the way. I've done it a minute. I've done it all over for everybody. And so it is probably my overarching passion, other than content, is dissertation work. I've done about everything that can be done, every style, every methodology. I am a method. We'll find a way. You tell me what you want to do, we'll find a way. But the third picture and the final story is Heidi. You got to survive your dissertation. If it lights your district on fire, your doctorate won't help you. We want this degree program to help you and advance your career. Jennifer just got promoted to executive director of exceptional children in McDowell. Sarah just got this week, was Tuesday night, was appointed or was it Monday night, was appointed superintendent in Kannapolis City Schools. We want this degree to help you. You can't set yourself on fire or your district with your dissertation. We don't do gotchas at Gardner Webb. These are all our collaborative partners. I mean, y'all have been through some really good people. You've met some of our practitioners. You've met Dr. Fisher. You've met these people. The reason why they work with us is we don't try to we're not adversarial with them. We want to help support them. And so it's time. I don't know how far you are. We'll find out later with your dissertation thinking. I know you've been doing annotated bibliographies, literature review, but we need to start getting, this is the end of your first year. Um, 024. You need to you've only got one more year. You need to start getting focused in on what you're going to do, and I'm going to hopefully help you do that this semester. All right, my time is up. What questions do y'all have for me? Look at that. It's 7:30 right on the dot. It's almost like I do this for a living.
I have a quick question, Dr. Lamb.
Go right ahead.
I was looking at all of the material in the course, and I know that there's a template and guidance for our project for this semester, but I was wondering if you had an exemplar that you would like for us to be around, because I know you said you don't want it too wordy, you want it straight to the point. But
Sure, I'll get you one.
okay,
I can put you one in there.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'll do that. As soon as I get offline, I'll go in and pull one from last
Okay.
semester. Or I mean, excuse me, from oh, I'll pull one from my little group. I'll probably pull Rebecca's. Hers was good.
Thank you so much.
I'll put that right there where it is, and you can have an exemplar. I want 30 pages or less. I'm obsessed with 30. Like Domino's, 30 minutes or less. I like 30 pages or less. Um, if it's not quick, it's usually not good. All right, that's a good point, Haley. All right, anybody else have anything for the good of the group?
I have a quick question,
Go
Dr.
ahead,
Lamb.
Go right ahead.
I just wanted to verify for the clinical log, it's 30 hours total, correct? Not for
It is.
each
No, 30
specified.
total. 30 total. I don't
Okay.
want you spending a bunch of time on that this summer either.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. All
Dr.
right.
Lamb, when you talk about one page, is that one page APA format?
Yeah, one page, inch margins, top sides, bottom, double spaced, 12 point. And if it's not the whole page, I don't care. Between a half and a whole. If it goes to the second page, I'm not turning the page. That's too much effort.
Understood. Thanks, sir.
And you can I like outlines. I'm old enough that I went to college under the old European system where you had to do full sentence outlines for everything before you wrote the narrative. I know that that's not been done since we had electricity and automobiles, but I still like that. I don't need the narrative, but don't get in the habit of doing bullets or stacking because when you go to dissertation, everything's got to be narrative. They don't like bullets in a dissertation. So but if you can just do narrative sentences, I like that. I like that. But just whatever's, you're going to be the one that presents it. And please don't presume that well, now, if I'm sitting too far from the screen, but I can't read, but I can actually read, I just can't see. So don't just do a presentation where you just sit and read it. That that won't help you in your career. You need to learn to speak extemporaneously. And so, um, you know, the group that I had in 734 in the fall, that's in 738 this semester. They in Charlotte had I think two people in there from Rowan County. One of them's a principal, and he was just a wizard. He could speak. He'd never even looked at the screen. He could just speak extemporaneously, and he was just amazing. Um, and people were like, "Well, he looks awful young to be a principal." Then when he got up, you realize, oh yeah, that's why he's principal. Um, he looked, he demonstrated the part. He demonstrated the part. And I mean, and even if you don't know what you're looking for, when you see it in him, you say, that's what you're looking for right there. You don't need a rubric to know that that's what you're looking for. If you can speak extemporaneously, if you can just have the big ideas, the keywords up and be able to speak to it, that's very, very powerful in leadership. Very powerful. People are attracted to that. People follow that. All right. Next question. All right.
I have one more if I could, Dr. Lamb.
Sure.
I sent you an email previously, but I just want to make sure the makeup dates for July are July 26 and 27. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
that is it. I'll be there.
I'll be there with you, sir.
All right. I'm gonna be right there. We'll talk about my expectation for that weekend when we're together. We'll talk about that individually, you know. But yeah, that will be it. The last weekend of summer school is the makeup date. I will be there. I'm actually teaching a class in another program. I have a organizational leadership group this summer as well. And so I've got them in a innovation technology course that I do on AI, um, how to integrate AI into your dissertation. And I've actually got a neat new book for students that's kind of like AI. Oh, this is a really good one. What is it? The AI dissertation writing guide for ChatGPT on how to do it. And it's got big print, so it's not a lot, but I've got this for my students. I use chat all the time. But I'm going to work with them. It's their final course in their organizational leadership doctorate. I'm going to work with them on how to produce their dissertation using chat.
Dr. Lamb, say that title again for me, sir. Your screen's blurry. We couldn't see
All
it.
right, yeah. The AI dissertation writing guide, Chat GPT, Dr. Betty Diggs. It's very basic. It's very simple. And it's it is truly a beginner's guide for somebody. Now, I do some stuff a little more advanced with this with chat, but it's a good introduction for students. And I don't have a bit of problem with you using chat on that, as long as it's not writing it for you, because you got to figure it out. I'll put the link to this in our class shell. I've got it right here. It's the AI dissertation writing guide for chat. I got it I'd heard about it and I found it. I don't know. It's not real expensive. You get it at Amazon. Let me see. Let me share my screen. It's just a basic overview kind of thing, and you can get deeper than that. But for those of you who have not, I don't know if anybody, I know all of you've used some sort of AI, but how to use it correctly for dissertations so that it doesn't show up that somebody else wrote your stuff.
It's $21.99 on Amazon.
And it's
Yeah,
free with Kindle.
Yeah, it's free with Kindle. Let's see. Right there it is. The AI Dissertation Writing Guide, ChatGPT Techniques and Strategies for a Successful Dissertation. I gave $23.58 to have a hard copy. Let me see. And I'll put this in our.
Dr. Lamb, can I ask a question while you're putting that in there, sir?
Sure.
I won't be there for the first session because my sons are graduating that weekend. Do you still want me to go ahead and complete the activities that go
And just
along?
put them in the Dropbox.
Put them
Sure.
in the drop. Okay, that was what I wanted to make sure if I wasn't going to
Yep.
be there. If I
Just put them in the Dropbox and that'll be fine.
okay. Now I'll also be there on that makeup weekend
All
with you.
righty.
So do I need to individually email that to you, or how do you want me to do that?
Oh, there's a Dropbox.
Okay.
There's a Dropbox for everything.
Okay.
No, getting to present it, I mean, that doesn't get you any points anyway. That's just so that I get a chance to aggravate you,
Okay.
wear you out a little bit. All right. And I'll put that as well in our shell. Uh, There it is. There's the AI dissertation book. And I'll pull us an example. I'll put it in the same place right here at the top. As I add stuff every week that y'all want, I'll just put it right at the top. And again, here's my sign up sheet. If you want to come, if you have a course question or if you have a dissertation or you just want to talk to me about dissertation, you just sign up for a time right here. I'm available on Mondays. I had to X that one out today. I've got an appointment that day out of town, but I may get back in time to do some. If I do, I'll take some of those exits off. But I've got Mondays from 9 to 5. I've got Fridays from 9 to 5. I've got Tuesday night and Thursday night from 6 to 8. And if you don't see a time that works for you, I can make you a time a little bit later or one of the Tuesdays that we don't have class. I can put that in for just for y'all. Like, let's see, we'll have we have class this week and next on my calendar, but then we don't have class again until the 20th. So we've got like three Wednesdays in June that I can do 6 to 8 rather than or 6 to 9 rather than doing classes. So if you want one of those times, you just need to email me. If you can't find a time on here, I can do the Wednesdays that we don't have class. I can schedule a time individually with you around your schedule on those Wednesday nights. After 5. I don't get here till usually around 6, so that's why I start at 6. But um, so if you need individual help, I'm here. If you want to work on dissertation, you want to talk about dissertation, you want to talk about topics, you want to talk about methodology, you want to talk about where I could get data, those kinds of things. If you want a short course on how to learn to use Qualtrics surveys and how to set them up so we can run your descriptive statistics out of them, how to write prompts and for inductive coding thematic analysis, which you'll learn next semester. Any of that kind of stuff that you want to learn, I'll be glad to spend time with you. I enjoy that stuff.
Dr. Lamb, I have a question. As far as organizing our annotated bibliographies and the dissertations and things that we've already read, do you have like a suggestion on how to store that? Because like right now they're all over my office area. So I just was wondering like not the digital, but the hard copies. Do you have like a technique that you suggest on collecting
Do an
those?
outline, and when I say that, I use chat. I tell chat what I want to do, what my chapter one's going to be about, my research questions, or what my topic, just what I've got, and tell it to outline me a chapter two. And then I take that, and then I start putting those annotated I start putting them in those different sections. I mean, you've got two general sections in your literature review for a dissertation. Your first is the content, whatever your topic is and all the related stuff. And then you've got your conceptual framework section, the theories that guides your study. That's the second half of it's not always a half, but that's the second part. And so when you're reading stuff, you got to figure out, you might have 5 different sections. You might have 5 different sections of content that goes with your study. Which one does it go with? So say we're doing a teacher retention study. We talk about retention. We talk about job satisfaction. We talk about attrition. We talk about high stakes testing. All that kind of stuff is content. Then we get down to Hertzberg. Then we talk about satisfaction. What makes people stay? What makes them go? What's a motivator? What's a hygiene? What's a satisfier, dissatisfier, whatever. We do that. Now, a lot of you don't know the difference yet, and I'm not being critical of you. The difference between a theoretical and a conceptual framework. And now this is high level. Stay with me now. Theoretical is 1, conceptual is 2. I just explained it to you. If you have more than one theorist, that's no longer a theoretical framework, it's now conceptual. Why would you need more than one theorist? You need a content theorist that says, this is what we ought to be doing. And then you need a process theorist that says, this is how we ought to be doing it. That's going to be very helpful when you get your chapter 5. Chapter 4 is written out of your literature review, the content section. You're matching what you found to what the content of the literature. Chapter 5 is you're matching your recommendations to the content of the framework literature. Chapter 4 is about the first half of chapter 2. Chapter 5 is about the second half. They are matched pairs. That's how it works. That's why they have you working so hard on chapter 2. But you've got to clearly delineate all your content topics from your theory topics into. We have to separate them out, because we're going to link back to the content in 4 to show that your data is reliable. And we're going to link back to your theorist in 5 to make sure that we've made the right recommendations. We do a lot of social cognitive theory. We do Bandura, we do Vygotsky, how people learn. We do Knowles if we're trying to do something with adults. Andragogy and Knowles, we use that. If we're doing teacher retention, satisfaction, we use Hertzberg, Needs, Maslow. Good Lord, we do them all. But it isn't eeny, meeny, miny, mo. We have to get our theorists right, because they guide our studies and they guide the writing of our chapter 4 and 5. And so, again, sometimes we only have one theorist. I was sitting on one for EDCI week before last. They brought me in to be the bad guy. I knew that's why I was there. Well, always stick to your strengths again. And so she was doing a 9th grade transition program. Well, the first problem with 9th grade transition programs is that's from the last century. That's the kind of stuff that I was doing in the 80s. That was the first research project that I had as a research associate at Chapel Hill in the late 80s, was to one of those transitional programs from middle school to 9th grade and high school. We stopped doing those around the turn of the century, started doing 9th grade academies. But they had put one in one of the rural districts, and they wanted to see how it was going. And I said, well, all you've got is an evaluation model, a logic model, or you can use the SIP model from Stufflebeam on how to evaluate a program. I said, how do you know what to evaluate? And they all said, huh? I said, what content? What should a transition program? What is the content of a transition program? What should it be? And they said, yeah, we'd need somebody to talk. I said, you need Albert Bandura. He's the guy on social cognitive theory that talks about experiential lab work, observing, peer tutoring. All CTE, all career and technical dissertations are always use Bandura. Anything like ROTC or any of that kind of stuff. Anything where you learn by doing, that's Bandura. That tells you what the content of the program should be learned by doing. Well, Bandura says do it this way. Now, when we're going to evaluate it, the logic model or SIP model from Stufflebeam says this is the process of evaluating it. Content, this is what it ought to contain. This is how we'll evaluate it. That's how you use your two theorists to become a conceptual framework. One must speak to your content, the other to your process. And if you get them right, chapter 4 and chapter 5 are easy. If you get them wrong, you get to rewrite chapter 2 after you've already written it the first time and gotten it approved. Now, don't think that doesn't happen. I've had one, two, three. I've had three of my organizational leadership doctorals have to rewrite their chapter 2 in the last year. 3. But what did my coach tell me? If you can't listen, you can feel. Again, one of them overestimated, and we had to do an alternative data collection because survey interview wasn't working. Well, we had to go back. You say, well, we'll just change our methodology. Well, that meant that we had to change a lot of things. And one of them was we had to change, we had to go back and rewrite chapter 2. Then change our methodology in 3 and change our data collection in 4. And the other one, Whitley, again, Whitley's like my youngest child. I love Whitley. Her mom worked for me forever ago. I've seen Whitley since she was 4. She was old enough to go to school. Whitley was with me for 8 years and did a master's and doctoral program. Love Whitley, but she had to rewrite her chapter 2. Wasn't her fault. It's one of those things. When you put a survey out there, you don't get to pick who answers it. And unfortunately, the people who answered her survey in bulk were the newest members of the organization, the youngest ones. And they hadn't had any much professional development. And so that wasn't a big thing for them because they didn't know there was such a thing as professional development. Well, that was one of the major content areas of her literature review was professional development. All these kids didn't know anything about it. Uh-oh. No thematic match with her data to chapter 2. They said professional development didn't matter to them because they hadn't had any. But you don't get to pick who's going to answer your survey, folks. That's the risk you take sometimes. So we had to go back and rewrite her chapter 2 because of how her data turned out in the end, because she didn't have any, she didn't have any of her veteran employees answering the survey. She works for an educational consulting firm. They have a lot of turnover, just like education does. Just have a bunch of kids. And they don't generally stick around long enough that you get to onboard them, do any professional development with them. The company's got smart enough is they wait 6 months before they start professional development. That way, there's a lot better chance that when they put them through staff development that they'll stay. And so they had a bunch of new hires, and that's all, and they're young and ambitious and go-getters, so they filled out a survey, and all the older employees said, nah, pass. No thanks. Uh-oh. That's the kind of stuff that you have to do. Now, that was, one example of one overestimated, one is just the luck of the draw. But if we set these things up correctly, if we do a better job with our theory into our research questions, into our survey questions, and our interview questions, we won't have to do any rewrites. Rarely do I ever have to do one in LS. Our stuff's a little more down the line and normal. I don't, Now, I had 2 to finish this spring. I got them as methodologists. One of them, I literally got her the week before she had to have it in. And she had written chapter 4 and chapter 5 and did not have not one reference in either chapter back to the literature, not one. But we got her through. As soon as I got her to understand that you write 4 and 5 out of the literature in light of what you found, we have to show reliability with our data, that it's real. And so these things all matter. It sounds far-fetched, but it's pretty simple. but we get a good problem statement. There's got to be a problem and not just in your mind. The SNS section's got to be solid. SNS is statement of the problem, need for the study, and significance of the study. It should be written just like chapter 2, even though it's chapter 1. No personal opinion. Well documented that this is a problem. This is a widespread or accepted problem that you're trying to solve with your dissertation, not just in your mind. And we start with that good solid basis right there in chapter 1 and get us some good research questions and get us a good conceptual framework and then develop a good survey and all around it, or get us a good path to some good solid data. One of my EDCI ladies, we got math scores in South Carolina. Now, if you're in South Carolina, y'all do quarterlies. We can do a repeated measures analysis of variance. We can do a straight analysis between schools if we can get test scores. North Carolina people, y'all don't do quarterlies, nor will you give up your test scores either. So you're going to have to look around stuff like that. Not going to happen. You know, you know. We have to figure out what data is out there and available, and how can we get it, or can we generate it ourselves through survey and interview. I'm not a big fan of focus groups. I throw one in every now and then. Focus groups, you run risk of them running contrary to your literature. Kendra had to run focus group 3 times. She's one of my EDCI ladies. I do methodology across all 3. And yeah, I'm not a big focus group fan because sometimes they can kind of get out of control. And a lot of the studies that we're doing are perception studies. There is no such thing as a group perception. That's an individual thing. They have their place. They're just limited in application in what we do. I much prefer a survey interview than survey focus group. Now I will do interview and focus group if we're doing a phenomenology, shared lived experience. Phenomenology means lived. It sounds a lot more elite than it is. It just means lived experience. So if we're doing lived experience, the phenomenon that you lived through, then I'll do interview and focus group to back it up to see if the lived experience is a shared experience among the group. Biggest problem in phenomenologies is a phenomenon didn't occur. To do a phenomenology, you have to have a phenomenon had to have occurred. And too many people just coming to work every day is not a phenomenon. I know it is for young people. They think they're giving blood to show up to work every day. I get it, but that's not a phenomenon. So that has limited practicality in our business phenomenologies, but I do them all the time. I do them. I also do them within a mixed where we'll do a survey and then our interviews in a phenomenology style about because the topic is themselves or what they've lived through. We can do that in a mixed. And the last rant for the evening is please understand that mixed is not a methodology. Mixed methodology is not a methodology. It's a family of methodologies. There are 4 of them. You'll learn that next semester. But the main thing is to learn that mixed is mostly what we do is mixed, but we pick one of the 4. And they all have rules. They're very specific. It's not McDonald's. This is not the dollar menu. You don't get to pick and choose. When you pick one, you have to be consistent all the way through with the rules that go along with that methodology. And so most of you will do a mix. Most of you will either do a sequential explanatory or convergent parallel. We might have a sequential exploratory, where you do the interviews, then the survey. Convergent parallel, we collect quantitative and qualitative, the same exact data, just different ways, and then compare it. Explanatory design, I do mostly explanatory, where we do survey, then we do interviews to explain the results of the survey. That'd be an explanatory design. Sequential means the survey has to be first. And we very rarely do the experimental. I've got one going right now, but that's it. Avoid case studies because they're either long or deep. I just come off a case study myself. I did one for the College of Ed for accreditation. I just finished. It took me 8 years. That's right. I said that, 8 years. A good case study is at least 5. Because of COVID, I broke it up into 3 2.5 year sections and then took 6 months to write it up. I just finished it this week. Did an 8 year case study. Now, I went wide and deep. I went about 900 different interviews. I mean, different open-ended, about 900 over the course of 8 years, and went over 8 years and went that wide. But I'm speaking not just to all MSA programs in the world. I'm speaking to all master's programs. That the motivation to get a master's degree is completely changed from before COVID. Completely changed. And that's why we see the numbers dropping like stones in all master's programs in the United States. But I have a watershed document study that I have done. It's based on DESI's self-determination, and then I spun it into, my theoretical spun into a conceptual. I brought 2 more theorists in as the data began to emerge. And that's what you do in case studies. You don't want to do that. You don't want to spend 8 years on your dissertation. So don't think about case studies. Everybody wants to do a case study. I don't know what it is. Everybody wants to do a case study. No. Here's an idea. No, don't do that. Case studies spin. They go. They find their own way. They take forever. They either got to be real deep. I mean, that means years, or real wide. I cannot. They got to be a bounded system. I can't strenuously enough tell you, you need to avoid case studies. Try to avoid phenomenologies unless it's a true phenomenon. Um, Qualitative only is fine. Quantitative only is fine, but you got to do inferential statistics. That means you got to have raw test scores generally, or assessments. North Carolina people, that pretty much going to cut you out. South Carolina people, that means you. But again, you got to know the rules of the road here, and you got to know them before you get too far down the road on this thing and have to start rewriting. And you don't want these pages. They're not your children. You have to learn to let them go, but you don't want to have to do that on a regular basis. I had one turned into me the other day. It was 22 pages. I sent 8 pages back. And I said, "Where's the other 13?" In the round file. No, you can't get caught up in just generating pages, because then it'll just be a waste of everybody's time. And the way that you don't write a whole lot of pages that you're going to end up throwing away is you have a clear direction on what you're going to do. You have a clear path to data.
Dr. Lamb, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
I see that this Zoom is being recorded. Do you share these recordings?
I post them under tonight, under where it says Zoom session 1. As soon as it processes and I get it uploaded, I put it in there later. It'll be there before 11 o'clock on class night every time. You
Awesome.
noticed I have one from the last introductory section that I did. I always have one of those until we get this one done, and something happens and you missed it. You can see it before you come, or you can, nobody would watch it voluntarily, but no, I'll replace it with this one.
If we have to miss a class, which I don't plan on doing, but do we have to do like a makeup assignment or anything for them?
Just make sure you get yours in. No, you don't have to do a makeup assignment for these. You just watch the video later. That's why I do them. No, 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 no. All right. Y'all got me talking about dissertations, and look at that. We spent all that time. I'll diagram dissertation chapters on the board, and we'll go through all this stuff in a more formal way. Generally helps people get a concept of what they're trying to do if they understand how it all fits together and what the purpose of each one of them is. Each chapter is. Chapter 1 is about a problem. Chapter 2 is about confirming through the literature that there is a problem. Chapter 3 is about how we're going to get the data. Chapter 4 is about reliability. How are we going to show that what we found is reliable, that it's real. Chapter 5 is about what we're going to do about it. pretty much flows pretty easy. Um, you know, it's not an insurmountable task, but it's one of those things you got to focus on. You got to know what you're doing. You got to have a clear path to data. I'm going to get the data to do this. No data, no dissertation. I've got one of those websites somewhere that has all the nerd stuff on it that my wife hates. There's even a T-shirt that says "No data, no dissertation." You know, if it's on T-shirt, it's got to be true. All right, I've had the time of my life. I've never felt this way before. I swear it's true, and I owe it all to you. Who knows what movie that's from?
Dirty Dancing, right?
There you go. You know that's where my wife and I'm actually in Lake Lure at the resort tonight here at Rumman Ball where they filmed the scene. That's where that's the west. That's where the Western White House is. I'm at the Western White House tonight. I live at Lake Norman, but I stay here during the week. I've got a place here. My wife watches Dirty Dancing like a documentary. She watches it every week. But we both grew up here. And so, but yeah, I'm usually on Wednesday nights. I'm here. I'm usually here Tuesday through Friday, and I go home. Because we have class on the weekend. I can't get through the Charlotte traffic to get to Lake Norman during the week, so I just hang out here at the club. All right, I will see y'all next Tuesday night. And so we have the 3 people. So there's a new one coming out, a new Dirty Dancing. Oh no, they'll play that thing. You know, they played the old one as much as they did Urban Cowboy back in the day. So,
Dr. Lamb, it's the same people. It's the same people. They're just older, and they're just. I think it's
well, Patrick Swayze passed away, so won't be him.
It's like the same. If you look on Netflix, it came up as the same people.
Wow. Yeah, they'll have to exhume Patrick Swayze. I hate that he passed away, but yeah, they stayed here. You know, during that time, there were several movies. Dirty Dancing was filmed here, and The Last of the Mohicans was filmed in Burke County, not too far from here. And the waterfall was here at Hickory Nut Gorge at Chimney Rock that got washed away back in the fall with the hurricane. That was Hickory Nut Gap Falls. But the scenes from the lake. I was principal up in Burke County at the time, and we had to reroute our buses around 126 because they're at the wildlife where the boat landing was on the hill above it. They cleared out the pines and built that fort, and they were standing there and look all the way and stand and look at the lake. That was right there on 126 in Burke County, right before you get into McDowell. And so we had to route our buses. So yeah, this part of the world back then, there was a lot of movie making going on in and around here. But you know, all those, I guess those tax credits, you know, I guess they closed down. Earl Owensby closed down his studio in Shelby, and Dino De Laurentiis closed his one down. What was it, Dawson's Creek? They filmed in Wilmington. They closed all that down. They lost all their tax credits. But during the 80s and 90s, there was a lot of movie making in this part of the world. There were some music studios as well that had some tax breaks. There was a big one in Winston-Salem, but all that stuff's gone now. They film everything in Canada now. I don't know how that's going to work with the new administration. They don't seem to be getting along anymore. But that's where I am tonight. So I will see y'all next Tuesday. It's good to see everybody tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Lamb. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.